So this is a follow-up on the RC jet that I did with the Tamiya 135 boat. So these are the smallest jets I could find that exist on real RC boats, right? So here with the intake louver. And I looked around and yeah, I mean the smallest I found was, you can see the size, but I didn't get any smaller than this. So you compare to the diameter I have on mine, this is what was a challenge, right? Look at the size of the impeller done by Hugo HK on eBay. Those are, don't quote me on this, like 16 millimeters maybe. So kudos to him. And these are the Tamiya underwater pods that house a battery, AA here, AAA here, and then you put the adjustable rudder and propeller and motor in there. You twist to turn it on and off. Comes with a suction cup. And then this came from a kit. I forgot, it's a Tamiya kit. They actually copied the PBR hull, which is like a fishing boat or a leisure boat, but it's a proven, very well shaped hull. And you can see here they made a big cut for the suction cup. And then I, loving that boat so much, I looked around what else is there, and I found a kit. I think it was a French kit, but it was resin. I forgot this. This is 1/72 scale. I was gonna do something with it, but yeah, I don't know. Then I said, let's make my own. I was able to find online CAD files of that hull. I shrunk it, so I made my own. And you're gonna say, why? Well, here's electronics I found. I need twin motor, right? So here's the principle. If you use propeller, like to do tank steer and reverse and pivot turns, this is an RC submarine. They were making a bunch of these with twin pagers, small motors with small props. And the smallest electronics I could find would be from the Hexbug toy line. So the form factor is a trouble here. This one is very long. So this is infrared, meaning you can play indoors, but if you play outside, the sun is going to interfere with the signal, so it doesn't work very well. Then here's another one. I think this for the Hexbug skateboards. So you need power supply, 4.5 volts. You put a small LiPo or some kind, and you can control 2 motors. Now the last one, I don't have it in hand, but Hot Wheels from Mattel makes an RC Hot Wheel, and the electronics are, you know, 1 inch by 1 inch, and you can put stuff. Obviously here I was shooting for an extremely absurd size. The idea would, my dream would be that at a restaurant I could play in a cup of water while waiting over a small PBR. Anyway, here's a Japanese RC submarine that was done a while back. It was very expensive, and then Air Hogs licensed it, but it was originally made in Japan by another company. So it's got a small LiPo battery in there. It's got a chamber, so there's like a piston, there's like a syringe. There's a motor moving up and down the ballast, so you can adjust the flotation. But the reason I'm showing this to you is not the size. I mean, this is its own thing. It's really cool for playing indoor tank. It's infrared control. It's the steering. They don't use a rudder. They don't use tank steer of twin motors. There's a pager motor here that's transversal, not transversal, longitudinal, sorry. And see, there's a slit. There's a slit on the side, on both sides. And there, the motor has a pinion. It looks like a gear with 4 tooth only. It's not really a propeller, but it acts as one, or like those old school steamboats. And you have to prime it. When there's air in it, it doesn't work. Once it's primed, and this enables you to pivot turn. You can make very sharp turn, and that led me to say, hey, let's do something similar to, rather than having the motor shoot in the back. See here, I was going to have motors sticking out with propeller. This was the smallest propeller I could find. Let's have these motors going and doing this kind of squirrel cage, impeller, this kind of design there, because this works really well. All you need is a slit. So that was where I left off. I was going to have the motors vertically there. I would have to do some experiments to find the ideal shape. And I've seen some cheap toys, motorized toys about this size, where they use the motor on top with the like the fish tank pump. So you have a, we call squirrel cage, but you've got the impeller rotating centrifugally. So centrifugal pump. Yeah, that's what it's called. This is a, you know, those swimming toys. There was a bunch of fishes that when it's in the water, it makes contact. There's a coil that reciprocates, and it was moving it. And I wanted to do this for the Cobra Shark, the eel version 2. But it's not. It might need to have 2 hinges to have a better efficient. So that's a project too. That would be cool if this thing swims. Propeller is just too lazy at this point to just stuck a propeller. And then this is from the Shark 9000. That torpedo is so beautiful, so it has to be motorized. So I started to carve it to place, you know, like, let's see if I put some electronics in there so you could control. Anyway, so this was kind of a plan to, the propeller is so beautiful, it'd be cool to have it snake around on the water surface. And then there's some other novelties I want to show you. Obviously, it's these guys. Who make this? Hexbugs as well, yeah. So this is the one-bladed propeller. It's not broken, it's the way it came. See? And the reason that this guy, it has no control, it's just a spinning body, a torpedo kind of thing. So torpedo typically is a fin, so they stabilize they don't spin as much. This one's constantly spinning, there's some metal weights in it. There's like a ball rattling, like acting as a counterweight. But the one-bladed propeller is what I want to attract your attention on. It's very clever. If this was a 2-bladed propeller, you would shoot and then you would get stuck in a corner. The one-bladed propeller makes the tail dance. And because it's dancing, it always finds its way around obstacles. It doesn't get stuck in corners. So it's very vivid. It looks like it's broken out, but this is very clever. So something to consider as a unusual locomotion kind of thing. And, oh, there you go. I found it. So that Japanese submarine I was telling you about, here is one that's taken apart. Let's see if I can find. So you see how this is the main propeller, and this is the steering propeller. So you got a pager in line, just like the motor. It's much smaller. It's got the 4-bladed, and it's acting. It's almost like a water pump, essentially, like a, you know, like an engine, a water pump. So it's just moving fluids around, and it's covered in the back. Is it? Yeah, it's covered in the back. So it's just shooting side to side. So that is the reasoning behind the small PBR here to say, let's do a locomotion like this using this kind of principle. Because at this scale, when you get really small, it becomes tricky. So it's like, hey, if this works for steering, it might work for making the boat work. So imagine 2 of these, right? We would have one here and one here, shooting toward each other so that you could steer sharper. Anyway, thanks for watching.